Good evening and welcome back for another fanfiction reading. I have read up Wildcard chapter 1 and 2. Now we're going to aim for chapter 3. Fortune favor the brave. Now, let's see here. The guard dogs have been swift in their removal of me from the hole, efficiently grabbing me and taking me out of the cage before any of the other prisoners could get an idea about escaping. After a couple of minutes of being dragged along by two burly dogs, my hose dragging against the floor, causing pain scraping sound which made the dog ears flick in annoyance, I was thrown into a circle of sand. After pulling myself up and spitting out some of the grains that I got in my mouth, I turned to observe the fresh new cavern I found myself in. This one was shaped far different to the other two I have viewed so far. Rather than the cavernous expanse of the throne room and the hole, this chamber was a dome in a style of a coliseum. Around the pit I found myself in there was a ring of seating carved out from the rock. There was also a throne in the prime seating position, slightly smaller than the great seat in the throne room. I guess this was Red Tooth equivalent of a home away from home. A gong rang out from somewhere I couldn't see, followed by the sound of scuffling feet. Diamond dogs began to take their seats around the arena. Some of them slavering at the thought of the fresh violence to come. Even Red Tooth has shown up to watch me get my ass handed to me. So that was nice. That's what I like to see from my insane slave masters. Good manners. They are rare nowadays. Across the ring from me there was a large iron portcullis gate which, at the height of a drum that of one dogs had started, began to show to rise, reveal a foreboding darkness. I had to admit, for sheer intimidation factor, I would have given the dogs high 10, that is, if I weren't so concerned about imminent groaning I was about to receive. There was shuffling from the darkness, a beastly snort followed by the pawing of hooves upon the soft sand. I felt the ground tremble underneath me. I noticed a horrific chorus of grains of sand began to leap in the air, approaching steps of the champion. As he emerged from the darkness, all I could think was I wished he would go back in. A huge minotaur had ducked underneath the opening just to get inside the sand ring. His horns were scraping at the top arch. Maybe Redtooth wasn't crazy as he seemed. I mean, must still be some rationality in that added brain if he had to see sense to be scared of this beast. The beast in question was around 9 foot tall. The shadow it cast from the light of guttering torches enveloped my much meager 5.6 frame. His steel blue coat was shaggy and uncut, with his horns were sharp and red at the tip. In between his horns was a mane that may have been styled into a mohawk style, but has long since overgrown due to lack of proper grooming. Around his neck were a strip of black cloth, which I had taken guess looked a bit like a tattered remain of a tie. I think I know this guy. Uh, Iron Will? In response, Iron Will, if this giant rage monster really was him, just lowered head and charged at me, horns glittering in the light. I let out a startled yelp and threw myself to the sides as he charged past me, barely avoiding his massive bulk. I'm going to have a really careful one hit like that would pulverize me. Iron had managed to halt his charge and turn around, bloodshot eyes hunting furiously for his prey. I caught a glimpse of those eyes as they looked onto me and saw nothing but rage. Terrible, all-consuming rage. My contempt of that caused the will I had seen in the show to become like this was cut short as I focused thrown myself into the side once again. One of Ironwill's swing arms managed to catch my right leg as I divided, and I felt a sharp pain travel from my ankle up to my thigh. As I picked myself up from the combat roll, I assessed the damage of the wild strike. My right ankle didn't quite look right. At a quick test found out that I couldn't put much weight on it. Twisted ankle. That's not good. Iron Will charged at me again, noticing that his prey has weakened. I couldn't dodge it, not with this leg. I couldn't exactly hobble out of the way. I, I did the one thing I only could do, and the only thing that come to mind. Working on some instinct that called humans that to do with the way of stampede. I threw myself at the ground, curling up into fetal position, legs tucked up to protect my chest and my arms covering my head. To observe it may have looked like I just tucked my head between my legs and kissed my ass goodbye. Certainly it felt like I had. Thundering hooves charged closer, each blow reverberates through the earth to vibrate my prone body. I'm waiting and waiting, expecting my head to be crushed by a giant tooth or my spine snap under the weight of a huge minotaur, but nothing came. Curious, I looked up, removing my head from protective cage of my arm. Iron Will had passed directly over me. His large stride bypassed my slim frame. He stood behind me. His head began to swing around as he hunted for his prey. Why hasn't he seen me? I look. It took me a moment to realize the situation. His enormous muscle preventing him from looking directly down. If he had been in his right mind, then he would have no problem. He could have simply lowered his head until I entered his vision. But the enraged Minotaur towering above me, lowering his head, was an act of submission the primal part of his brain refused to accept. Due to this animal's stubbornness, from the rage certainty of his brain, I was basically invisible as long as I stayed low enough. In a hurry, I scurried away from him, still staying low and terrified that he might accidentally crush me in his hunt for prey. Still lying on the ground, I managed to reach the other side of the arena and put my back to the stone wall. How was I supposed to get out of this? How did I even get into this? What have I done to happen to my luck streak? Then I come to question, not a single thing had gone my way. How was I supposed to get luck on my side again? A single phrase came into my mind. A phrase that I couldn't consider much in the past, but appeared a whole new meaning after my resent. Run Ray in with divinity. Fortune favors the brave. Fortune, otherwise known as luck. As all right then. I know what I have to do now. Time to get lucky. I rose my hoof, straightening my back and puffing my chest out in clear sign of challenge any predators. Hey, over here, you big overgrown cow! Iron Will head immediately snapped around towards me, his red eyes locked onto me. I felt a chill of fear go through me, the animal rage in those orbs, but held firm to the palm. Yeah, come on, come get some. Look at this fine rump. Bet you can't pierce of piece of me with a side of gravy. Come on. As I shouted this taunt, I flipped around and showed him my rear, slapping it a couple of times to really get the point across. Throwing a glance over my shoulder, I saw Iron Will scrape the ground a couple of times with his hoof before lowering his head and charging. Goddess, don't fail me now. As Iron Will began to charge, I prepared myself for what I was about to do, tensing up my legs preparation. That thunderous gate approached me like the rolling thunder, an upcoming storm. Yet I still waited, my back turned to the roaring beast Iron Will have become. Now! I leapt up into the air, tensed leg throwing me as high as I could. At the peak of my rapid ascent, kicked out again in the strongest buck I ever managed. Not against Iron Will, for about a single strike could bring him down, but instead at the wall I was facing. The charge of Iron Will, who barely had time to realize what had happened, slammed into the wall with head horse first, and stuck there. Terrible, terrible roars come from me as he realized that his prey escaped him once again, but managed to trick him. He placed his titanic arms against the wall and praved his head back, but to no avail. The horse appeared to be stuck fast in the stone. I had acted quickly, not sure how long that would hold him, approaching warily, careful for any kicks of those mighty legs. But Ironwill seemed absolute absorbed in trying to get him free. Quickly, I leapt upon his back, and gripping his shaggy fur with my hooves, scraped the top that perched him. I climbed up until I stood on his head, attempting to flail me, but with his own overgrown shoulder muscles prevented the proper movement of his arms. I grinned down on him. I couldn't help but enjoy my triumph over this colossal creature, even if I wasn't the proper Ironwill. Whatever had happened to him, whatever these dogs have done to a versatile semi-teacher from the show, was clearly affecting his mind. Hopefully, what I was about to do would help it snap out of it. That didn't mean I couldn't enjoy it a bit. Allow me to show you the dance of my people. And here he is going to dance a Irish step jig right upon his head. With a declaration, I began to dance, starting a quick jig, barely more than a light tapping. really, but progressing in greater immense as the music in my head grows swifter and swifter. The beat of the drum echoing in the beat of my hoofs against Iron Will's cranium. Moans of pain come from underneath me. Yet I persisted, hoping that my less than tender administrations would be able to keep the enraged beast. I began to whistle as I went about my brutal work, following the tune of the song in my head, as my hoofs continued to slam down on Iron Will's head. They synchronized up nicely with my jaunty whistle, and I felt the muscle beneath me begin to sag. I must It must be true, they say, music really does soothe the raging beast. Feeling the collusion of the song coming up, I leapt into the air once more, ignoring the inferno of pain that ran through my right leg. With a roar rivaling those that had been unleashed by Iron Will thought out, our confrontation, I slammed my hoof down hard into his skull. He slumped underneath me, finally giving up his struggle and collapsing into blissful unconsciousness. I think joining him in sweet rest soon. A blaze of pain in my leg has gone past any inferno. It now felt like if someone had replaced my bone with a river of magma. I guess I overexerted a twist of it and I evolved into a break. Damn, I'm not going to be moving too fast for a while. I had just enough energy to stumble off Ironwood's back and limp over where Red 2 was looking down at his defeated champion in a shock. His huge canine jaw open and his eyes, uh, which seemed to barely beady and small, now open wide to the point that it looked like they were about to escape his face and make a bid for freedom. I felt a cocky smile upon my jaw as I raised my hand and flipped the huge dog a middle finger salute just before I passed out from the pain. Yep, that was a big fight. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to continue to read up some more, maybe a little later, or maybe directly after this one. Maybe. But I'm going to put this up on YouTube and smile. See you another time. Zolo out.